friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about shares. But before discussing anything about shares, let's recall whatever we have learnt in our previous video. In previous video, we have understood that what is capital and how capital requirements are different for different organizations. Today we will learn about sources of finance for joint stock company. A joint stock company is a voluntary association of people who have contributed their money for a common purpose. A joint stock company is the most expensive form of a business organization and its capital requirements are also large. Therefore, the sources of finance of a joint stock company can be categorized into two parts. First is long-term sources of finance and second is short-term sources of finance. Please note that long-term sources of finance are required to purchase long-term assets, or we can say fixed assets, such as for purchasing land, for purchasing plant and machinery, or for some big investment purposes. Whereas short-term sources of finance are required to fund current assets, or we can say for the minimum operations of business. Long-term sources of finance are, first is shares. Shares means the capital of the company is divided into equal parts. One part of the capital is known as share. Share indicates the interest of the shareholder in the assets as well as in the profits of the company. Or we can say that share is the interest of the shareholder in a company which can be measured in a sum of money. The companies are divided into two types: equity shares and preference shares. Equity shares are the ordinary shares. They do not carry any preferential rights. Whereas preference shares, they carry preferential rights. Preference shares carry two preferential rights. Please note this, children, that preference shares carry two preferential rights. The first preferential right, or we can say preference, which is given to the preference shareholder is that they can get a fixed rate of dividend before any dividend is given to equity shareholders. The second preference or preferential right that is given to preference shareholders is that at the time of winding up of the company, their capital will be repaid before any capital is repaid to the equity shareholder. As I have told you earlier, that equity shares are ordinary shares because they do not carry any preferential rights, and preference shares are the special shares because they carry two preferential rights, or we can say two preferences. So first we are going to discuss about the features of equity shares. Equity shares are issued prior to preference shares and debentures. That means that equity shares form the financial base of a company. Equity shares are issued before company issues preference shares and debentures. Secondly, equity shareholders do not have any preferential rights. That is, their capital will be repaid at last. And second thing is that they do not carry any fixed rate of dividend. Their dividend is decided in the annual general meeting and it is proposed by the board of directors. So in short, we can say that the payment of dividend to equity shareholders is at the discretion of the board of directors. Third is that equity shareholders carry voting rights. This is the most important feature of equity shares. They carry voting rights. That means the persons who have invested in equity shares, or we can say equity shareholders, they have the right to vote in the proportion of their shareholding. Third is Fourth is that equity shares have the right to enjoy residual profit. Residual profit is the profit which is left out after paying back or after fulfilling the claims of all the liabilities, or after fulfilling all the claims, whatever profit is left out, that is distributed among the equity shareholders. So the features which we have discussed about equity shares are: first, that equity shares form the financial base of the company. They are issued prior to preference shares and debentures. Second, equity shares do not carry any fixed rate of dividend. They are paid dividend. Equity shares means dividend is paid to them only when it is proposed by board of directors in annual general meeting of the company. Third is that equity shareholders are at last they are paid their capital, means at the time of ending up of the company, after fulfilling and satisfying all the claims and liabilities, then only equity shareholders can get back their capital. Fourth is that equity shareholders carry voting rights. And fifth is that equity shareholders can enjoy residual. We discuss about the features of preference shares. Preference shares have the features as follows. First, preference shares carry two preferential rights. The first preferential right given to preference shares or preference shareholders is that they are paid fixed rate of dividend before any dividend is paid to the equity shareholders. Second preferential right is that at the time of winding up of the company, preference shareholders will be repaid their capital before capital is repaid to the equity shareholders. Preference shares do not carry any voting rights. We know that equity shares carry voting rights, but preference shares do not carry any voting rights. Preference shares are also called hybrid securities. Hybrid securities because they have features of both equity and debt. Therefore, preference shares are called hybrid securities. See, the feature of equity in preference shares is that they are paid dividend, and dividend is paid only when company is earning profits, and that also at the discretion of board of directors, means dividend is proposed by the board of directors. Second is that the feature of debt which is there in preference share is that they carry fixed rate of dividend, like debentures or debt, it carry fixed rate of interest. Preference shares, they carry a fixed rate of dividend. Before their name, that fixed rate of dividend which is paid to them is written, like 8% preference shares, 10% preference shares, 12% preference shares, etc. So in this video we have discussed about shares and equity shares and preference shares. In our next video we will discuss about certain more categories of shares like right issue, bonus shares, sweat shares, etc. Till then, stay tuned, stay safe.